Hey everyone, I'm making a quick video today. Just going to go through my different tomos I like to use and show off the new stone a little bit. So here's my new base stone that I've been really enjoying. Got it from Flow. Really nice, not as hard as my other one, but just as fine. And I find it actually works well with most tomos. I freshly lapped it, so the first one's gonna slurry up really easily. But I just wanted to get a video out, just showing some razor honing. So I'll start with this one, because this one always slurries up the easiest. It's the softest one, but very fun. And the stone was freshly lapped. I'm not going to lap it between each tomo, but I will show at the end how far out of flat it is from this. Which I think is still within reasonable flatness, but I think after, depending on how much you're using it obviously, but if I'm just doing tomo, I can probably do 3 or 4 sets before I want to flatten. But I'm still figuring this stone out. Different stones act differently, of course. So there's the slurry. If it wasn't freshly lapped, it would be mostly from the Kita. But right now it probably has a little bit of both stones just because the surface was so fresh. And here's my Willow. Nice razor. From my testing so far, all 3 of these tomos will get me where I want to go for the final finish. I haven't really tested the speed. The Kita is probably the fastest though. I haven't done a lot of testing for the other 2 though. But usually the razors hit at least a 10K synthetic, or it was already shaving and it did some sort of a Sano Nagura. This razor was already shaving ready. So it doesn't really need to hit anything other than these tomos. And since I'm going through all 3, it's probably going to be just fine after. I'd say now the slurry's broken down a pretty good bit. Normally I just do 1 tomo slurry. But I just want to get all 3 on video, so this razor will be a-okay. I hope the reflection's not bad. I might try different lighting for the other two. Just up close so you can hear it. I'm pretty lazy whenever I water it down. I just throw some water on there and it's never the same, but this is how I'll finish my final few strokes. And I will pay more attention to how it feels on this stage. Normally everything should be smooth. If I feel some roughness on the edge at this point, then I would either go back to maybe like a coma or even like a 6K if I needed to. Okay. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go dry the razor off and then we'll go to the next stone. Okay, I'm back. Moving on to this tomo. I'm not really sure what it is, but Flo sent it with the stone. But I know it to be really, really fine. And stone has not been flat or lapped after that last tomo. And I kind of like it. I feel like it hits that sweet spot once you smooth the surface out and use it a little bit one time. That second time seems to be a nice sweet spot for me. You want to make sure you rinse the stone and there's no other slurry left over. And the first time I make slurry, I'll usually do the whole surface just to help smooth it out. But after that, I focus more on the edges just to help wear it down more evenly. And let me actually change the light real quick. See if that's any better or not. And I feel like this one might be scratching the base stone a little bit. I could be wrong. I feel like of the three stones, this one's probably the closest to how hard the base stone is and how hard the tomo is. But whenever I use this tomo, it feels like I'm definitely getting slurry from the tomo. Probably some from the base too. But it doesn't build up as quickly. Okay. I didn't strop the razor, I just cleaned it up, dried it off. That's ready for the next one. Now the stone feels smoother. The slurry feels good. Looks like it's a good mix. And this is usually my favorite surface for the J-Nap when I'm finishing. I don't know which one's my favorite slurry stone for this base stone yet. I really like the slurry on this one, but I feel like the other two almost, or the Kita definitely slurry's easier. And the last one, which is my hardest one, feels like the slurry on that one feels really nice with this stone. I feel like if I use only the Kita, I probably wouldn't have to lap the stone as often. I could probably go longer before needing to flatten the stone. But honestly, it's not like it would be a big difference. Maybe one or two extra goes, but I'll get up close so you can really hear it. I'd say it's starting to feel like this slurry's broken down now as well. I don't really know enough about the tomos and how they work with this base stone to know how they're going to break down, how their cutting speed's going to be, all that jazz, but just toning for fun. And usually when I come to this stone, the edge doesn't need that much, or I'm coming off the Asano, and it could be a slow, very, very slow tomo, and it's still gonna get me where I want to go. I think one thing you need to be careful of if you're ever trying to find the tomo for you. 1 second. So I have dealt with a decent amount of tomos that are really hard, and I think they're fine just because they're hard. But they usually, or not usually, but the ones I've tried have just been sort of middle ground, I guess. They're not, it's usually your base stone's going to have the final say no matter what. But I couldn't finish on slurry with those other stones and the edge come out good. I would always need to finish on water But with these tomos, I can finish on slurry if I want to. And the edge is still very nice. And this slurry is now at a point where I'm just doing light strokes, getting ready for what would have been the final finishing. And I usually like to finish on just water whenever I'm done. Oh, I won't do a great job rinsing the slurry off, but I splash the whole surface with water. And I'll just do very light egg strokes at the end. And I think if you have a good stone, your edges are going to be good after this. When I was first starting out, I had a couple stones that they were good and they had a good finish, but I was basically trying to use tomo naguras to increase their fineness. So I probably put too much effort into that. Where I think the tomo can definitely give you a smoother edge and change that. It's not going to make your stone finer though. It'll make the surface finer. But anything will do that once you use it. So I'm going to try this razor up one last time and we'll break out the last slurry stone that I like to use. Alright, I'm back. Stepped away for a couple minutes, but so stone's dry. I'm going to re-wet it and we're going to move on to the last tomo for the video. This one's definitely the hardest of the three. And on my other stone, it was really close to the hardness of the base stone, so I couldn't really take advantage of this one. But because this base stone's a little bit softer, it actually ends up working pretty nicely with it. And I'd say my favorite time to use this slurry stone is probably whenever this surface is fresh and not already broken in. But this one would probably give me, I was going to say my finest edge, but really all of them can bring the edge to the same point if I'm finishing on water. Or very close to. But I would definitely want to have the edges close to done as possible before moving into this particular tomo. And I've soaked my tomos before, and that's a good way to get them to build slurry easier. And I just didn't have time to do it today. But another thing I like to do is I like to round the corners. Just so there's no sharp bits that might have too big of a chunk fall into the slurry. And I also, I'll run it like this on the diamond plate to kind of give it a dome. I'm still kind of rocking it on the actual stone. Sometimes I won't, just depending. Not that it matters too much, but with the slight dome in there, I don't have to worry too much about trying to angle it slightly. I can just kind of do my thing. And I was close to getting another razor, just because this edge is looking so nice right now. But I want as many things to be the same as possible. So, nice finish. Again, my razor hasn't been stropped between these. Just dried off so it didn't rust any in between. Alright, just a little bit of water. There we go. And the surface is still good, but I know if I did another 2 or 3 slurries, it would probably be getting to that point where I'd want to lap it again. When I'm done with this set right here, I am going to draw a grid on here. I'm just going to do one grid, and I'm going to do 10 or so laps with a 400 diamond plate, and show you guys how the stone looks after that. Yeah, right now this feels really, really nice. The edge has definitely already been there and good to go. I'll say on these nicer stones I've never really had a problem with over honing, but it's not like I've ever really done a lot of testing or trying to overhone the edge. I've definitely overhoned on synthetics before. Usually more often than not, if I don't have a good edge after coming off the J-net, usually it's just because the edge was too far gone for just a touch up with tomo slurry. And then usually I'll go through the some sort of progression and then bring it back. And I probably could have broken that slurry down more, but it's already so fine. The edge is already so close to there. Just kind of showing you guys what it sounds like. This is a good amount of slurry for finishing X strokes too. I will say if you're doing multiple tomo naguras, it could be a good idea to strop just to get rid of any weak foil edge that might be forming. Which I think usually the tomo nagura is going to take that off anyway. But it'll also help this. It'll also help stop the razor from sticking so much too. Which I didn't do that, and the razor is sticking, but pretty nice stone, and I never have a problem with it sticking too badly. These are just my final touches. Sometimes I'll just work on a small part when I'm doing the small X's, but I'll kind of shift it across the stone. And this is only for final finishing, where I do the tiny strokes like this. And everything on the edge feels good. I'm just going to load it up with water and just do a few final, very light ones. And rinse the stone off. And I'll be right back. I'm going to slightly lap the stone so you guys can see how out of level it is, and I'll do my final comments. Alright, I'm back. After lapping the stone for a little bit, it appears I've got a little bit of a low spot along this side, and then on this corner here. And the stone was pretty much flat. It had a fresh lapping before we started. And there's also a little bit here too. And that's one thing, like, it's going to change depending on the person. And I think it's good to do. Just so you can kind of see where you're putting the most wear on your stone. So whenever you are building a slurry, what areas you want to focus on. So I try and flip the stone to make sure I'm getting even wear. But I know just in the future, whenever I'm building slurry, I want to be trying to use these corners and a little bit of the sides. And since it was freshly lapped, I'm just going to go over it just a little bit. I'll probably lap it all the way flat later, so I don't need to do this, but that's usually how I'll prep the surface after lapping, just that amount of tomo on it. And usually that's good because I'm going to refresh an edge with this. With tomo, I want the surface to be semi-fresh, if that makes sense. I really like doing 2 tomos if I'm touching up an edge. I feel like that always gets it to a really nice spot. But looking at the tomos, I think they're all really, really good stones, and they're all going to get you close enough to the finish where some water-only strokes is going to get you to the max of that stone. I really like this Kia because it usually works with most stones without any problem. A little bit quicker, and it leaves a very nice edge if you're finishing on slurry. This one I still have to test out more to get a good feel for it. But it's definitely harder than that other one that we just looked at. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to say the slurry finish on this is going to be really good. It's got good speed. You can see this one also has that curve I was talking about, but this one was actually, it came like that, but I would have put something similar in there anyway. And last is this guy. And usually he does not play nice with the very hard stones, which you can make it work if you freshly lap the surface. But I like using this one after I've already done one session with one of those other two stones, and then finishing it with this guy. Very nice. But normally if I'm going through an Asano progression, after Coma or the other one before Coma, I don't always use both of them. I'll use one or the other. But usually after those, any of these stones will work fine. I'm probably just picking one of these based on where the stone surface is at. If it's freshly lapped, I might use this one. But if it's not freshly lapped, I'll probably lean towards this one or this one. Or if I'm touching up a razor that's been shaving, I don't want to do the full progression and I just want to touch it up, then I'll probably use this or this. But I think as long as you have a tomo nagura that's able to build up slurry without too much of a hassle, and it's decently fine, you're going to be fine. Like, I think I could be A-okay with just this one stone, or any of these would be fine. If I was going to pick only one, I would pick this one just because it's easier to slurry. Because I'm going to be able to get to the same place with all three of these on the stones I have. But I'll also say all three of these are on that same level. I have had other stones that were really hard, but they didn't finish how I liked them to, no matter what base stone I had. I've had some soft ones that were fast and would get me close, but not close enough. But all three of these have sort of been the sweet spot for me. But I think it's important to test a lot of tomos, but once you get one that you really like or you have a lot of success with, I think you're good sticking with that most of the time on most base stones. The only time I run into a problem is if it's very close to the same hardness. So like I have another Kita that I like to use, and these two are pretty close to hardness. And where it can work, I'll actually prefer to use this harder one. So I think if you can get softer than your base stone and fine enough to get you where you want, that would be the best. But if you have a softer stone, then going with the harder one definitely isn't bad either. But I'm just rambling a little bit. That's just what I found. But I think everyone's going to have a different experience depending on what base stone you have and where you like your edges finished at. One last look at the base stone. Surface is really nice. You don't feel the line at all. I do like how it looks though, because it kind of adds this yellow here. But that's the video. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Hope you guys are having fun. And hope you guys have a good week. Thank you.